After finishing dead last in the NHL with 48 points a couple seasons ago, they made a massive turnaround. They made the playoffs, and they've already made a trade today. Let's go to Darren Dreger.
Yeah, you're right. Joe Sakic pulling the trigger, acquiring the goaltender Philip Grubauer and veteran defenseman Brooks Orpik. There's some speculation that Sakic may want to move the veteran D-man to bring back a pick or create a bit more space for himself as well. As for the Washington Capitals, they get a second-round pick, 47th overall, but more importantly than the draft pick, in getting in return for Grubauer and Brooks Orpik, likely the cap space and moving out the money as they try and keep John Carlson in the fold for the Washington Capitals, guys.
Darren, thanks so much. Show the clock ticking down, obviously. Some incentive to create cap space for John Carlson, but what does this tell you about Colorado?
Well, it tells you that they have to have concerns about Varlamov. And what you don't want to do is run yourself into a problem because your goaltender didn't heal as well as you thought or as fast as you thought. And now you're relying on somebody inexperienced or not confident enough. I think it's a big, significant move for the Avalanche.
No question about it. The biggest thing that we found out about this team now, they are a team on the rise. The Matt Duchene deal really helped solidify the Colorado Avalanche's future. They got a lot of real positive things going on.
Figuratively,
there.
A team on the rise.
Absolutely.
Literally, a team that is still sitting with the clock at 0, Bob, and no pick in.
Yeah, that's a good question there. Why is that happening? We don't know yet. Someone just saw Brian McClellan from the Washington Capitals on the phone a moment ago. We'll see if anything comes up here.
So, Colorado Avalanche.
They were ready to pick at 4, and they're not ready to pick at 16.
By the way, on the Avalanche acquisition of Brooks Orpik from the Washington Capitals, a part of that deal, the expectation is they're going to move him along. That if there's another team that's interested in him or a potential buyout or put him in a position somewhere where he might fit better than on a team like the Colorado Avalanche, that seems to be the sense anyway.
So, Avalanche up, going to make their way to the stage. The pick is in. Now, as they make their way to the stage, and you look at this Avalanche team, they address potentially a need at goaltender. But I mentioned, the enormous move that this team made from one year to the next year. Nathan MacKinnon, a huge part of that. Where else does this team need to improve?
I think they need some more offense behind that big line of MacKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. Take some of the pressure off. We saw what happened with Washington. We saw with the good teams. Pressure off your top players to add more scoring helps you go further in the playoffs.
Pierre, we talked about the Oilers, a team that made a move into the playoffs, then regressed. How does Colorado avoid that?
Well, I think one of the things they have is they've got tremendous organizational depth now that they didn't have before. That helps. There's confidence in the coaching message, and they believe in the general manager.
On behalf of the Colorado Avalanche, we want to thank the City of Dallas and the Dallas Stars organization for your hospitality. We're proud to select from the Czech Republic, Martin.
Interesting pick for the Colorado Avalanche. Martin Kaut went to the NHL Combine, and as part of his medical screening at the NHL Combine, he was diagnosed with a congenital heart condition. I believe it's known as Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, WPW, which is a rapid heartbeat. And it doesn't need to be a serious condition. It's quite often easily fixed with a performance called an ablation. But in any case, initially it triggered some alarms because he wasn't able to do any of the physical testing there. But he saw specialists in Prague in the Czech Republic and had the procedure done to correct it. And then after the fact, the doctors in the Czech Republic actually said, you know what, we don't actually believe he had the condition, but nevertheless, it's a good precaution to do the procedure that they did. He's a very good two-way winger. Plays the game hard, not high-end offense, but works both ends of the ice extremely well.
We talked about Colorado, having some backup offense. He's not a front-line scorer. Playing behind Rantanen, that's the spot where he can really take advantage of his skills. Add offense, play on the power play, but when you don't have to play against the opponent's best defenseman, Rantanen will take over that, but it takes the pressure off of some of those top offensive players. So it's a nice addition to their forward group in Colorado.
From the same hometown as Dominik Hasek. How could you go wrong? Pardubice.
Well, if he can have the same career as Dominik Hasek, they're counting on him to do the opposite of what Hasek did.
And this pick is right in line with our rankings. Number 16 on our list was Martin Kaut. He goes number 16, same as Denisenko, who was number 15 on our list, and he went 15th.
Next year at the NHL draft in 2019, Bob will take over the role of selecting for every team because he knows who's going and who should go.
I think he's prepared right now.
Yeah.
So they take Martin Kaut here, but earlier the news that Colorado swings the trade with the Washington Capitals. They receive Brooks Orbeck, who may be moved. They receive Philip Grubauer, and then the Capitals receive a second-round pick, and they get Capperley potentially to help them re-sign John Carlson. We'll continue with our coverage of the 2018 NHL Draft right after this with the Devils. Back in Dallas, the Devils on the clock about to make their selection at number 17. So, Bob, we've made the turn here in the first round, and we haven't had a single first-round selection be traded.
No, we may not see that. And mind you, flipping, flopping later. But, I mean, the Carlson trade never materialized, probably not going to tonight. Kovalchuk didn't sign with anybody yet. So there's a lot of balls in the air, so to speak.
Here are the Devils at 17.
The New Jersey Devils want to thank the city of Dallas, Dallas Stars ownership. Also want to send our congratulations to Ted Leonsis, Dick Patrick, and the Washington Capitals on the Stanley Cup. And also share our sympathy and support for the community of Humboldt. With the first selection in the 2018 entry draft, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select Ty Smith.
Fifth Canadian selected, but again, another sub-6-foot defenseman.
Yeah, but he can wheel. He can absolutely wheel. He can do a lot of things. He was a first overall pick in the Western Hockey League by the Spokane Chiefs. He comes with very high pedigree, winning attitude. The New Jersey Devils last year at the World Junior had 7 players playing in it. They're one of the stronger organizations outside of the National Hockey League in terms of prospects. They're not going to have to rush this player, can take their time. They acquired Sami Vatanen last year. They have a young group of defensemen coming. I think this is a smart pick by New Jersey.
He's a player that Ray Shiro, that reminds me of a player Ray Shiro had in Pittsburgh, Alex Kolodowski. He's not going to be a high-end offensive player, but when the puck's on his stick, good decisions happen. He's able to move the puck out of the zone. One of the big things for defenders is being able to have that leverage. So he's got lots of room to physically mature, and he's going to need that. But when he's on the ice, coaches always have a sense of confidence that the right play is going to get made.
He put up huge offensive numbers in the Western Hockey League for the Spokane Chiefs. There's some question as to whether he'll be able to duplicate the offensive numbers, being a high-end offensive contributor at the National Hockey League level. But the feeling is he's too smart and he's too skilled not to find a way to impact the game, although not necessarily in terms of putting up big points. He doesn't have a heavy shot from the point on the power play. He runs a power play in junior hockey. It might be a second power play guy in the National Hockey League. But again, the smarts, the skills. One of the comparables that a number of scouts I talked to said Thomas Hickey, New York Islanders. Undersized guy, smart at both ends of the ice, finds a way to get things done, but not a lot of wow factor in the game.
One of the things that's always impressed me about Ty is when he makes a mistake, he doesn't go and compound it. He just settles back into the next play. I think that's a real essential quality for a defenseman.
And didn't he bounce back from the Prospects game?
Yep.
I think he was -5 in the CHL Prospects game. It was a disastrous night for him, but you know what? He just parked it and moved on.
And of course, he was like 9%.
And he's the third D-man under 6 feet to be drafted here tonight. The prospects here were asked to name their ultimate team player. 3 of them said Ty Smith, the only multiple vote getter. He's with Catherine.
Ty, you went number 1 overall 3 years ago at the WHL draft. You get number 17 today at the NHL draft. What did it feel like to put that Devils sweater on?
That's pretty special. Growing up, you watch hockey, and I kind of watch the draft every year ever since I was a kid, and watch all the guys do it in the first round, and it's kind of like a dream come true today.
Ty, we asked a number of players at the Combine who the ultimate team player is in this draft, and the only repeat answer we got was your name. Why is that important to you?
It means a lot. I think your teammates are kind of guys who see the real you, I guess, in the dressing room. Guys kind of tend to act different around adults and other people like that, so I guess your teammates kind of can tell a lot about a guy, I guess.
Well, Ty, congratulations to you and good luck.
Thank you.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks. So that was the Devils pick at 17. 6 defensemen already taken here in 2018. Perhaps the most impressive defensive draft since 2008, which was just star-studded.
Yeah, a couple Stanley Cups, some Norris trophies amongst multiple players. It's a pretty good group. I mean, you look at it, and you look at the Pietrangelo, the Doughty, the Carlson, both Carlsons, as a matter of fact. I mean, it's an impressive list of defenders.
Take the best Carlson available.
Yeah.
We were looking at Carlson there, 26th overall. I mean, and now he's on the cusp of free agency, although with the move that the Capitals made today, that will maybe free up some cap room. He's looking at a deal where he could get $8 million a year. In fact, if he goes to free agency, I guarantee you he'll get in excess of $8 million. It could take $8 million a year for the Washington Capitals to get him back in the fold.
I know this. If the Washington Capitals don't have John Carlson, that's a massive hole in their lineup. And, again, we talk about defensemen and centers. Where do you find them? Oliver Ekman-Larsson just signed for $8.25 million. It would seem that Carlson would fall right into some type of that range.
Probably more, because he got a higher offensive level than Oliver Ekman-Larsson. All that being said, here's how important John Carlson is to the Washington Capitals. Last year they lost Shattenkirk, Alsner, and Nate Schmidt.
Yep.
All for nothing. Zero. Nada. They got to keep guys like that.
I wonder if Barry Trotz might encourage Lou Lamoriello to have a chat with John Carlson if he gets to free agency.
I'll put this out there.
I think Carlson wants to stay in Washington, but the money's the money.
If John Carlson was to not re-sign with Washington, good chance that Washington Capitals, a Stanley Cup champion, misses the playoffs?
I'm not prepared to say that. Just their depth down the middle so strong with Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Eller, and maybe Beagle has got a chance to be a free agent. I'm not prepared to say that. They're too strong down the middle.
Well,
it's tight, I'll tell you. It's tight in those divisions, and it's tight in the East. So, you know what? 7 teams that made the playoffs 2 years ago didn't make it last year. So let's consider that, you start getting holes in your lineup, it starts to create some challenges.
Okay, Columbus is up next. I'm not going to say we're going off the board, because the board is going to be blowing up here in a little bit here, but it's going to start going all over the map from here on in.
Columbus Blue Jackets up on the stage. Pick is in.
Thank you to Tom Gallardi, Jimmy Lights, the Dallas Stars. A special hello to our fans back in Columbus at the R-Bar. Announcing our pick tonight is a man who was born down the road in Arlington, Texas, played his youth hockey here in Dallas, and has gone on to become an NHL All-Star. Please welcome Seth Jones.
Thanks. Thank you. With the 18th pick, the Columbus Blue Jackets proud to select from the London Knights, Liam Foudy.
Liam Foudy, pretty good athletic pedigree. Mother France was an Olympic sprinter. His dad played in the CFL, and now he will be a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And I'll tell you what he's going to bring to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Incredible speed, disruptive speed. And when you can do the things with his speed that he does, it makes opponents really uncomfortable. He doesn't have the scoring finish. He's going to get a lot of opportunities with that speed, break into the open ice, much like Michael Grabner did, that ability to just get into the open ice. But his improvement was pretty significant. And when you look at high-end offensive ability, it's not there, but when you look at where the Blue Jackets have a lot of offense, he fits in quite nicely.
And I mentioned his mother, France, an Olympic sprinter. You talk about that elite speed translating certainly to the ice. Bob?
Yeah, and his dad was the CFL player with the Ottawa Rough Riders, the BC Lions, the defensive back, won the Grey Cup with the BC Lions in 1994. His brother Jean-Luc just went in the first round of the OHL draft to the Windsor Spitfires. This is one of the, bar none, the most athletic kids in this draft. He was a provincial hurdler, Ontario Provincial Hurdle Championship. And this guy blew things away at the combine, standing long jump, vertical jump, all the jumping, anything with those fast twitch, slow twitch things, I don't know. The kid's an athlete.
Well, it's a fast league. Columbus adds a fast player. The Philadelphia Flyers, they're on their clock, preparing to make their second pick here in the first round. That's coming up after this.
I knew it was draft day. They actually had to call my mom from the draft table and ask her my birth date. And she said, November 8th, 68. And they said, okay, that's good. That's what we thought he was. Listen to this. And they held the phone up and announced that the Washington Capitals had selected Keith Jones in the 7th round. My dad was sitting on the front porch, and he looked very excited, and I thought that was strange. And as I walked out of the car, he looked at me and he said, you were drafted. And I said, what, are we going to war? He said, no, to the NHL by the Washington Capitals. And that's probably the most memorable moment of my life.
What, are we going to war? Let's go to war with Keith Jones. That didn't exactly spur him on, though, did?
All I can tell you is that Craig Button's dad, Jack, was with the Washington Capitals, drafted him, paid a surprise visit to Jonesy at his home. Jonesy was at the bar with his friends. He got word that Jack Button is going to show up, so he raced home, and before Jack pulled up the driveway, pulled his shirt off, started doing push-ups in the driveway, so when Jack came up, he was looking nice and swell, and he was on his workout program. He did not fool Jack at all.
Jonesy goes on to be a Flyers legend. Joel Farabee was the Flyer selection at 14.
Philadelphia Flyers are proud to select from Thayer Academy, Jay O'Brien.
Listen, we talked about it before the draft. This was my guy all along. He is from the same school that gave you Jeremy Roenick, Tony Amante, Brooks Orpik, and Charlie Coyle. He is the real deal. He's got character personified. He's going to Providence College, so playing a really pro-style type game for Nate Lehman, who was just hugging him right there, his college coach. I am so happy for this player, so happy for that school, so happy for the ISL, and really happy for Flyer fans. This guy's legit, and there are a lot of teams that are angry that the Flyers got it with their second pick in the first round.
I would say the New York Rangers, who have 2 picks later in the first round, were certainly a team that was eyeing him. But, you know, you think about last year when they traded up to draft Morgan Frost, lights out year for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and he needed to physically mature. That's the same thing with Jay. So another real top-end offensive player coming into their system.
This is the first player that we had ranked outside the top 31 that's gone in the first round. We had Jay O'Brien at number 34, fully recognizing that all the players in the 30s are a threat to move into the first round. He's a high-energy type guy, but he's also got some real good skill. You know, you saw the way Jonathan Marchessault played the game over the course of this season. Similar type thing. He's an under 6-foot player, 176 pounds, but he's hard on pucks. He's got the ability to generate offense, but plays with a lot of energy.
A little bit like Joe Pavelski. Plays with his head. Really good hands, understands how to take advantage. So, you know, with some physical maturity, like Pierre said about going to Providence, that's what he needs. But when you got those hands and you got that head, you got room to really take your game to a higher level.
The man you see there with the beard and the glasses, that's Chris Pryor, their director of scouting. That's a scouting pick. Those are the guys that are out there. They're laboring. A lot of people say, oh, no, second, third round pick. They're like, no. They put their butts on the line for a pick like this. And I'm telling Flyer fans right now, it will be 3 years, and in 3 years you'll have this player, and he'll be ready to play.
Yeah, those rankings, Greg. You had Jay O'Brien at 38. Bob, Jay O'Brien at 34. But fluid situation here. Thayer Academy, notable alumni, Jeremy Roenick. Pierre mentioned Tony Amante, Brooks Orpik, who we've already spoken about tonight. Ryan Whitney, Charlie Coyle. Let's go to Catherine.
All right, Liam, thank you, Jay. We just showed the graphic of the lineage of players you're going to be joining there in the names: Roenick, Amante, Coyle. You've got Brooks Orpik, and now you, a member of a National Hockey League franchise. How does this moment feel to you?
It's so special. I mean, to be here with my family and my agent and my college coach, Nate Lehman, it's so surreal right now. I mean, same colors as my high school team, so it's so hard to put into words. It's a great stepping stone for me, and I'm going to make the most of it.
You were the USA Today High School Player of the Year this season. Casey Middlestat won those honors last year. He's playing in the NHL with the Buffalo Sabres. How quickly before you think we see your game in the National Hockey League?
I don't know. It's tough to put a number on it, but I'm just going to go to Providence and help Coach Lehman and the Friars win another national championship, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, Jay, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Liam?
Jay O'Brien, the latest American prospect to be drafted here tonight. Brady Tkachuk selected 4th by Ottawa. Quinn Hughes drafted 7th by Vancouver. So the top 2 Americans off to Canadian markets to play after that. Oliver Wahlstrom headed to play for the New York Islanders. And then Philadelphia, Joel Farabee at 14, selected by Philadelphia. Jay O'Brien then taken 19th by the Flyers.
You know, interestingly enough, so Tkachuk and Hughes from college, the other two guys from the U18, and O'Brien from high school.
Speaking of the Flyers, let's go back to Catherine, who's now with Ron Hextall.
All right, thanks, Liam. Ron Hextall joining me. And Ron, you got pretty close picks there. You picked Joel Farabee and you got Jay O'Brien. Why these two players for your franchise?
Well, we go for the best player, and two forwards just happen to fall into where we had them. So we're excited about both of them. They're both good players. Obviously, young men, but highly skilled forwards. They're quick, they're fast, and for the way the game is now, we believe in these picks.
You have also said that you wanted to restock on defense at this draft. So what are your thoughts going forward in the future rounds?
Well, we got 7 more picks, so I would imagine we'll draft at least a couple defensemen.
What is the overall philosophy that you have here coming into not only the rest of this round, but tomorrow as well?
Well, pretty much for us as best player, we'll go within layers where we say, okay, we'll take a D this layer instead of a forward. But again, hopefully we can get 2 or 3 defensemen.
All right, well, good luck to you, Ron.
Thank you.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks. So the Philadelphia Flyers drafting for the future. They get a couple players that are going to be teammates in Philadelphia, and Joel Farabee and Jay O'Brien, but that next year will play college hockey in New England. Farabee committed to Boston University. O'Brien committed to Providence College. So, LA Kings, their breasts, walking up the steps,
Bob,
onto the stage.
Be ready.
And their
I'm
pick
not saying it, but
here at number 20. About to make a selection. Is there a player on the board that stands out right now?
Well, Joe Veleno is number 14. He's our best available. After that, Saren Noel, Dominic Bach, Saren Noel, and Rasmus Kapari. We're looking at all forwards in that next group of potential guys available for the Los Angeles Kings.
So the LA Kings are up. The pick is in.
Making the selection for the Los Angeles Kings will be longtime scout Denis Fouget.
From Karpat, Rasmus Kupari.
Rasmus Kupari, second Finn to be taken after Kakaniemi. Comparisons out there. Lars Eller, Sebastian Aho. How far down the line are those?
Well, Charlie Coyle, that type of a player. He's a really good skater that wants to use his skating to try to beat opponents one-on-one. Ultimately, I think he is going to be best fitted as a right winger. I don't think he's got the vision to make plays. He's got hands, but he runs himself into those areas where the blinders don't allow him to see the whole ice. But he plays with a lot of energy, he plays with a lot of enthusiasm, and that skating is something that's very, very good. And when you're trying to become quicker and faster in the league, you have these types of players, but I don't see him as a centerman.
Great skater, great release, and some would say not a lot of finish, even though he is a Finn. The question about him, he's going to be a great penalty killer, and he's a real solid player. The question the scouts wonder about is how much offensive upside there is. At the beginning of the year, there was a lot of talk Kapari was a top 10 guy, that he would be one of the elite picks in the draft. And the reason why he's at 20, and we had him ranked number 20 on our rankings, the reason that he dropped down was because over the course of the year, good, solid hockey player, but maybe not that high-end offensive upside that you would want in the top 10 pick. So it's not a bad pick at number 20. It just reflects that there was a recognition over the course of the year that his offense wasn't at the same level as those top 10 guys.
And let me tell you, if he had shown that offense, because of the skating and because of that enthusiasm, he would have gone a lot higher.
One thing I'll say is he's not ready for the NHL, but he's playing in a program up in Oulu in northern Finland, which is a tremendous program. They produce a ton of players. One of the owners of that team, Jussi Jokinen, one-time Los Angeles King.
So a pick for the future. You look at the Kings, though, in the immediate future, Pierre. What are some of the things they need to improve upon for next season?
Oh, I think defense. They've got to definitely build up their defense, and I think that's something internally that John Stevens and Rob Blake are very well aware of. Both of them former defensemen in the National Hockey League. But they need defense, and if they don't get their defense better, that's going to be a problem.
And one area I would add to that, too, watching them against the Vegas Golden Knights, if it wasn't for Jonathan Quick, they might have lost every game by 6 or 7 goals.
Yep.
They were not fast enough. Halfway through game 2, I'm going, this series is over because the LA Kings, unless Jonathan Quick was going to be able to score as well as stop it, they weren't good. They need to add a lot of speed and quickness into their group.
Agreed.
San Jose Sharks currently on the clock. LA Kings, 98 points, fourth in the Pacific last year. First wild card swept by the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. Rob Blake's with Catherine.
Rob, Rasmus Kupari was projected to be the number 20 overall pick. You took him at number 20. Why that decision for the Kings?
Well, I think our guys have done a lot of research. I think number one thing is probably speed and knowing where the game is and where it's gotten to and where we wanted to project some things. I think the speed on the wing there and definitely that skill level.
Speaking of the speed and on the wing, there are reports that you guys are one of 4 teams in the mix to possibly get Ilya Kovalchuk for your future. Where do you stand on those discussions?
Well, it's still in the works. It's no secret we had them in. There were some teams that did, and we entertained them and showed them what we thought we could offer them here in LA. So we'll kind of see how that plays out as the weekend goes on.
It's been a few years since the Kings have made it to the postseason and made a run in the postseason, rather. What is the most glaring need that you would say going forward here now at the draft?
Well, even, it's noticeable this year. It's just the ultimate, at the end of the day, scoring. I think compete hard. We have great defense, goaltender, Quick and Doughty and Brown. But yeah, we got to increase our scoring level when we can.
All right, good luck the rest of the way, Rob. Thanks.
Thank you.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks. The Kings make their pick. San Jose Sharks, Doug Wilson and company on the clock. Right now, let's go to Darren Dreger.
Thank you, Liam. Well, Rob Blake and Doug Wilson, the general manager of the San Jose Sharks, share an interest in Ilya Kovalchuk. But Ilya Kovalchuk might be a plan B scenario for the San Jose Sharks. Kovalchuk has spoken with the LA Kings, the San Jose Sharks, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Boston Bruins. And Wilson has done a lot of work of late. He's also willing to go all in John Tavares. So Doug Wilson and the San Jose Sharks now on the clock. But they also have to play a waiting game with the likes of Kovalchuk and John Tavares, guys.
Darren, thanks. Bob, in regard to Kovalchuk, is there a clear front runner?
There's a lot of people think that he would like to be with Los Angeles Kings, but he obviously has not made that decision. If he wanted to be there, he'd be there. And right now he's sorting through LA, San Jose, Boston, Vegas Golden Knights. One of those 4 teams. A lot of those teams hope they would have heard before they got to the draft tonight so they can start looking at other things. The LA Kings are looking at Jeff Skinner, Max Pacioretty, amongst others. So, and there's a lot of teams that are in that mix as well. So we'll see what happens. Good fit on any of those teams.
What do you think he deserves versus what he's asking for at this point?
It's 6 years since he's played in the National Hockey League. It's interesting listening to Rob Blake. He says we need scoring, but we also need speed. So can he give you scoring? Maybe as a specialist on the power play. His speed is not very good.
All right, we'll see how the Kovalchuk situation plays out. As for now, the San Jose Sharks are up there, and their pick is in.
Interesting pick coming up here. Buckle up.
That's Tim Burke. San Jose selects from Guelph Ryan Merkley.
There you go.
Interesting to say the least. Here's a player that we considered the biggest risk-reward, boomer-bust type candidate, type prospect out there. The 7th Canadian drafted. This massive amount of talent. Bob, you'd say a top 10?
Top 10 talent, absolutely.
Maturity issues, though.
Yeah. The question is, he's an immature young hockey player, both in terms of the way he plays the game and the way he reacts to the game. So, in other words, how he interacts with his coaches, how he interacts with his teammates. There was a 3-game stretch in February where the Guelph Storm, recognizing that they needed to try and get a grip on this, they started to give him some tough love. They took Healthy scratched him for a game. They put him back in the next game, and he got a 10-minute misconduct after his team fell behind 3-0, and they sat him down again. And the next game, they Healthy scratched him again. And he started to make some strides over the course of the season. But there was widespread concern from many in the scouting fraternity that there was a lack of self-awareness, a lack of accountability when it came to those things. But the question the scouts are asking themselves, and obviously San Jose is not fearful of this, is he just immature, or does he have a fatal flaw in terms of the way that he approaches the game? Not the way he plays the game, because he's a skillful young guy, immense offensive talent.
They're not afraid of attitude in San Jose, and they think they can probably cultivate his attitude. Remember, this is a team that traded for Brent Burns and let him become the persona that he is. They traded for Joe Thornton when a lot of people said Joe Thornton wasn't the complete guy. He ended up being a Hart Trophy winner, will be a Hall of Famer. They're not afraid in San Jose to take guys that maybe have a bit of a checkered reputation. because they think they can cure him when they get there.
Let me tell you this, there's only one person that can cure Ryan Merkley, and that's Ryan Merkley. His skill is undeniable. He's a top-end talent, but his attitude needs improving. He's the guy that has to make the decision. Everybody has told him along the line, everybody. So now it's up to him, and if he does that, he can be a top player. If he doesn't, he won't be.
Up to him, but how important is it who he's surrounded by and that the right team picks him?
To me, it doesn't matter, because it's all about him. He's been surrounded by good players and good people.
All right. We're wondering about the explanation, the thinking behind this. Well, Catherine Tappan is with Doug Wilson.
Yeah, that's right, Liam. The general manager here to explain the thinking behind this pick with Ryan Merkley, a player whose stock fell during the course of the season. But what made you choose him as your first pick today?
Well, he's one of the youngest kids in the draft. He's got high-end talent. We think he's a difference maker, and we spent quite a bit of time with him, and we believe in him.
Well, you see the reaction from his family, just pure joy and elation, and his mom was crying there on the screen. What does that tell you about perhaps the character of kid that you're getting here?
Well, I think he's probably been through a few challenges. I think a couple things were thrown his way, but every time we draft a kid, they seem to have a lot of people here, so we'll have a great after party.
There you go. Give us a perspective of what the big picture is here for the Sharks going forward in this draft.
Well, we came in here looking for difference makers. You know, we've replenished our team. We've got a lot of core guys, but you know, the game has changed a little bit. Finding a puck-moving defenseman like this, it's got a little risk-reward to him. We think it's a good thing for us.
Well, the Sharks organization is being rumored to be involved in the talks as well for Ilya Kovalchuk. So can you tell us a little bit about your thought process on possibly acquiring him?
No.
Okay,
Good
short
question.
and sweet.
Good try.
I got to ask it. All right, Doug, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Liam?
A great economy of words in that response. He gets right to the point. He's not going to explain his thought process, but talk about risk-reward, and that was really the situation with Ryan Merkley. Risk-reward, maybe not as big of a risk anymore to go with a defenseman that is under 6 foot. It's the new NHL.
It's interesting, too, and quite aside from the character or attitude issues that many scouts had with Ryan Merkley, there was a player that used to play in the OHL, Ryan Murphy, very similar styles.
Let's hear from Ryan Merkley. He's with Catherine.
All right, Ryan, scouting reports have you projected to be a special player at some point throughout your career. What would make you that kind of player?
It's my offensive abilities playing with the puck. I know I have the confidence to play with the power play type. I know I got to work on my defensive side for sure, get bigger, get stronger, and commit to the defensive side for sure.
Yeah, 100 points in 2 OHL seasons, so clearly the playmaking ability is there. How do you translate and make that better on the National Hockey League level?
I guess I just got to keep growing, keep getting better. I mean, just keep getting more experience, hopefully. You know, get a few exhibition games in, grow, get better.
What did it mean to you, Ryan, that moment when you heard the San Jose Sharks call your name?
Yeah, it's pretty special. I mean, I was getting nervous up there, you know, just waiting. It's been a long time, and I was just happy. I guess I'm very excited, yeah.
You are very excited. A big smile there, Ryan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks. That smile certainly speaks volumes. Ryan Merkley going to the San Jose Sharks, and now you have the Ottawa Senators just moments away from making their second pick here in the first round. But it's a team in the middle of a whole lot of transition and turmoil.
I think the biggest question, forgetting who they draft right now, what are they going to do with Erik Karlsson? Where are they going with this player? We can talk about all the draft picks they have and everything. Where are they going with Erik Karlsson?
Well, how about here? Dorian's on the phone. We got a trade here to the New York Rangers, I believe. Let's see what it is.
Would you like to hear a trade? Ottawa trades the 22nd pick in the 2018 NHL draft to the New York Rangers for picks number 26 and 48 in this year's draft. Ottawa trades 22 to the Rangers for 26 and 48. Rangers, you're on the clock.
So Gary Bettman asks if they'd want to hear a trade. The crowd responds yes. And this is it. Ottawa receives the 26th and the 48th pick from the New York Rangers. They get pick number 22. We're back right after this. The pick at 28, but here they have traded up to the 22nd selection with the Ottawa Senators. So the Rangers 3 picks in the first round. This one at 22, the pick is in. The Rangers are on the stage, and here it is.
Rangers select from the USA Development Program, Keandre Miller.
I'll tell you what, he's an elite skater. He's an outstanding athlete. And the biggest thing for me when I watch Keandre Miller is where he's going to go for development. That's to the University of Wisconsin. Tony Granato's the head coach. But Mark Osicki, the associate coach there, is an outstanding developer of young defensemen. And like Brady Shea, ironically, a New York Ranger defenseman, He's got that ability to take the puck and move it up the ice and move it up quickly. Call him a puck transporter. But when you can quickly get the puck out of your own zone and up the ice, tell you what, that's a really good way to play defense, let alone to try to get on the offensive attack.
He's an athletic, physical specimen, as you point out, Craig. He's got elite NHL skating ability right now. What makes him interesting is that it's only been the past 2.5 seasons that he's been playing the position of defense, that he switched over from being a forward to a defenseman. He's still learning that part of the game. There was wide variance from the scouts on his projection. As high as number 10 overall in the draft. I talked to one scout, they had him because they believe he could really grow in to be that athletic defenseman with elite speed. And those that questioned him and put him down around 40 or 50 in the second round think that maybe it's not a natural position for him, that he'll have a tough time thriving in that. But he was still a consensus first-round pick on our rankings at number 24 overall.
In terms of potential?
Oh, yeah, huge potential, gigantic upside. Craig made a phenomenal point about going to the University of Wisconsin. I think that's a perfect place for this player in particular. But the one other thing about him we haven't talked about yet, he's got live legs. This kid's unbelievably strong. Very, very, very powerful person.
Live legs, strength, and a versatile athlete as well on the football field. Well, look right here. The speed, skill, but how about the size as well out there on the field? It's a lot to deal with on the ice. It's a lot to deal with on the football field. Right now, though, he's dealing with Catherine Tappan.
That's right, Liam. Keandre, congratulations. The New York Rangers traded up to get you at this pick. What does that tell you about how much faith this organization has in your play?
To have an organization like that come to you and really want you that bad really means a lot. It shows all your hard work and dedication pays off in the end. To spend this time with my family and friends really means a lot, too.
We all know you have a special relationship with your mom as well. What was that moment like when you heard your name called with her?
Yeah, it was pretty happy and also sad at the same time. I'd hate to see her cry, but I think those tears were joy, of course. Getting to spend this time with her and really experience this is the dream come true.
You've described yourself as being a defenseman that plays more like a fourth forward. Why would you say that about your play?
Yeah, I actually played forward my whole life up until this is my second full year of playing defense. So up until that point, I really thought of myself as a offensive type player, and I think I can really add offense to a team.
You can also add a lot of strength. We heard the guys upstairs talking about it, but you recorded the strongest grip in both your left and right hands. So let me feel it. Let me give a test to the guys. I don't know, guys, I think he's being a little generous here. That's a pretty strong grip, though. Keandre, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in the Big Apple.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Liam?
We always look forward to the handshake line. There's a guy perhaps you want to avoid now on the handshake line. But again, this big night for Americans continues with Keandre Miller, drafted 22nd by the New York Rangers. The latest for the red, white, and blue to go here in the first round. Big night for USA, big night for Keandre Miller. Shared this moment with his mother. An emotional night. We talk a lot about this analytically, but this is such a huge night for these players and their families.
Well, you know, Commissioner Bettman at the beginning of this talked about the sacrifice that these young men make and the dreams. We talk about the Humboldt Broncos, Humboldt Strong, and the dreams that everybody that got on that bus, you know, they were the same as these young kids here. They aspiring to the highest levels. And the sacrifices that go with it, you know, parents trying to get you to the rink, parents sacrificing financially and trying to move it forward. It is a tremendous part of it.
And right now, Darren Drager is with Keandre's mother, Amy.
All right, Liam, thank you. Amy, Keandre just talked about how this is a dream come true. It was a bit sad because he saw tears in your eyes. I'm going to assume, obviously, those are tears of joy.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of him.
Describe him as a young guy developing as an athlete, because it seems like he would be very competitive.
He's very competitive. He's very determined, and he just wants to fulfill his dream. He wants to make our family very proud, and he's done that.
Well, he's well on his way to joining the National Hockey League, the New York Rangers. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Liam?
Thanks from the state of hockey to the Big Apple. Keandre Miller is on the move. The Ducks are up.
From Luleå of the Swedish Elite League, Isaac Lundestrom.
So for a moment, we can take a break from talking about Swedish defensemen, and we can talk about a Swedish forward.
And I'm going to talk about him as the Swiss Army knife. you know, we got to have a Swiss Army knife in the draft, right? And this is, to me, the Swiss Army knife. He can play left wing, he can play center, he can score in that area, he can check. But to be able to do those types of things, you have to be an exceptionally smart player. And Isaac Lundestrom is exactly that. At the World Junior Championship gold medal game, the Swedes gave Canada everything they could handle and more. And Isaac Lundestrom played in different parts of that game and was just a real strong player. Already playing in Luleå in the Swedish Hockey League. That type of player, he's not flashy. He's not going to be an elite offensive player, but that guy that can move around your lineup and contribute in so many different ways.
Yeah, really smart, consistent two-way center, size, skill, makes plays, no wow factor to his game. Doesn't make bad plays, just makes good plays. 8 of the 10 scouts we surveyed for our rankings had him as a solid first-round pick. He was number 21 on our board, and he ends up going number 23.
So Lundestrom is the pick here, ranks among the best European prospects in terms of competitiveness, defensive play, and puck skills. So the pick is in for Anaheim. Lundestrom about to put on the jersey and officially become a member of the Anaheim Ducks. And welcome to the NHL. Up next, Minnesota Wild are on the clock. Paul Fenton, the new GM for Minnesota, make his pick here at number 24. Excuse me. Back here in Dallas as the first round of the 2018 NHL draft continues. Minnesota Wild are on the clock, making their way up to the stage. It's time now for Denny's Presents Pierre Maguire's Most Likely to Deliver.
Well, one of the things that happened, USA Hockey delivered Brady Tkachuk in the 3-hole. You look at Oliver Wahlstrom in 6. You look at Quinn Hughes at 8. And you look at Jay O'Brien at 10. USA Hockey doing a masterful job. But the big thing to me is all those players. I picked them in that spot because I really think long-term all these players are going to make substantial contributions in the National Hockey League.
Minnesota Wild up on the stage. We are deep into best available at this point. Is there someone that stands out, someone that you can see right now, Craig, that you would look to pick? Bob?
Well, Joe Veleno's our best available. We had him at number 14 on the board. A couple of big forwards, Dominic Bach, Sarah, and Noel, were both 18 and 19, so there's 3 of our top 20 who haven't gone yet.
So, definitely some options there for the Minnesota Wild. Some picks that could have gone earlier. We'll see who they select. They're up there. The pick is in. And for Paul Fenton, his first chance to make his first selection as GM of the Minnesota Wild.
The Minnesota Wild would like to say thank you to Dallas for its hospitality. Congratulations to the Washington Capitals. Say hello to our fans back in the state of hockey. And with the selection, Brent Flair will make it.
From Leksand, Sweden, Philip Johansson.
All right. Off the bets.
Yep, number 54.
Yeah, we'll call this one off the board a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but again, like, I think what you got to keep in mind is that there's no, from 20 to 50, I don't think there's anybody you can say that wouldn't be a surprise if we didn't have him. But he's a competitive defenseman, skates well. I would say that he doesn't do any one thing really well. I see him as a Justin Braun type defenseman who plays with the San Jose Sharks. I don't see him as a guy that's going to contribute a lot of offense, but he's a competitor, and he moves the puck, and he plays defense. You need defensemen that can play in different spots on your team, and I think Philip Johansson can add that to this Minnesota Wild group.
Still, number 54 on Bob's list. And Bob, you mentioned some players there that have yet to be drafted that were ranked much, much higher. Is there a reason why we're seeing some of those players that you mentioned before slipping at this point?
Well, I mean, in Veleno's case, lack of high-end offense. After that, I can tell you this. Philip Johansson, I'm just looking at the 10 scouts that we surveyed, and not one of those 10 scouts had him as a first-round pick in this draft. That's not to say it's a bad pick, because there is such a wide discrepancy, especially on those second-rounders like Philip Johansson. And we did say our top 60, anybody in our top 60 had a shot to sneak into the first round, but that's an off-the-board pick.
The one that I'm surprised they didn't take Bodie Wild, and I'm looking on the screen, and there's Bob McKenzie as Bodie Wild as one of those guys. Bodie Wild's a player that's got tremendous upside. Originally committed to Harvard, decommitted, then committed to Michigan, has decommitted there. So maybe that's part of it, but I was surprised that Paul Fenton didn't take Bodie Wild.
Yeah, right shot defenseman. To me, Bodie Wild has significantly greater potential than Philip Johansson. And I think what Bodie Wild needs is that coaching, play up a level, understand what it takes, but the skating, the power, the shot, I think Bodie Wild has got a lot more abilities than Philip Johansson.
That said, Johansson's a smart puck-moving defenseman, the sort of the classic two-way Swedish puck mover.
Yeah, just I think a solid number 4 defenseman like a Justin Braun. Like, I don't think you're going to see much more than that.
The number 4 defenseman, he was number 54 on Bob's list. Paul Fenton is with Catherine.
Well, Paul, you make your first pick as the general manager of this franchise, and you pick a player that was considered to be off the board at the time. Why did you choose him?
Well, I've always liked smart players, and talking to our staff here this year, they think that it's the right type of player that'll be a great player for Minnesota. And, I think the first draft I ran, I took a guy named Ryan Suter, who's also there. And you might have a lefty and righty someday that are playing together, and he's just off the charts with his smarts.
Well, the Wild have, for 3 straight seasons now, made it only into the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You've been enlisted as trying to reverse the fortune. So what is your next decision here at this draft to try and do that?
Well, we got 3 third-round picks coming up, and I think it's important that we build through the draft. I mean, we had the same thing in Nashville. We know how critical it is to pick the right type of player, the right type of people that are going to make us successful. And hopefully, as we start to build through the draft, we'll get the right type of people that are going to take us to the next level.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Good luck the rest of this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks. Minnesota makes their pick. The Toronto Maple Leafs are on the clock, coming off a season in which they had 105 points, which was tied for the 6th most in the NHL. Kyle Dubas on the phone.
Picking up the phone. See if he's going to trade back.
Make a deal with Lou Lamoriello.
Well, we'll see. Lots of decisions to be made here. James Van Riemsdyk coming off a 36-goal season and unrestricted free agent right now, though. Let's go to Darren Dreger.
Well, I can tell you guys, Kyle Dubas appears to be heading to Central Registry, and obviously he's got some pretty big skates to fill, and the loss of the offense of James Van Riemsdyk, who's expected clearly to go into unrestricted free agency, perhaps losing Tyler Bozak as well and Leo Komarov. But we believe that Kyle Dubas and the Toronto Maple Leafs will be among those teams who, in fact, do present to John Tavares in the interview period, assuming Tavares goes into that period on either Sunday or Monday, guys.
Darren, thanks so much. That would certainly make things very interesting for a team that's very, very clearly on the rise.
They did this in the draft where they took Travis Dermott 2015. They were picking in the, I think, 24. They traded back. The Flyers jumped into there to take Travis Konechny. They traded back with Columbus, and then they traded back again, and Columbus moved up to take Gabriel Carlsson. They ultimately ended up with a bunch of picks. One of them was Travis Dermott at, I believe, 36.
Yeah, and Travis Dermott's going to be a top 4 defenseman for the for the Toronto Maple Leafs for a good long time. So a lot of people joked about Kyle Dubas, that talking about the analytics and the measuring, trading that pick, hitting a couple of those, and he talked about it and actually joked about it before coming into this draft and saying, I don't know why people would necessarily think that I would do that, but obviously there's a chance that's going to happen here.
And Darren was talking about them making this presentation to John Tavares, this idea that they could perhaps entice him to come from Long Island up to Toronto. How serious a chance do you give them?
Can you imagine, though, let's just look at the Washington Capitals this year. They win with Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Eller, and Beagle down the middle. So now Toronto goes to Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Nazem Kadri. It's pretty similar.
I hope they don't use the same presentation they used for Steven Stamkos.
No, they're going to have to put 20 pounds of something in a 10-pound bag with the finances. But you know what? You got to be creative, and you got to come at it from a lot of different angles. And there's no question in my mind, to Darren's point, if Tavares gets to the shopping period, the Toronto Maple Leafs want to be one of the 5 teams that John Tavares wants to talk to, and at least make a pitch and see what they can do. There's some people think they've got a sweater there, number 91 with the C on it, all ready to go. Hey, John Tavares has some hard thinking to do about, does he want to get to the shopping period on Sunday, or does he want to do a deal with the Islanders? You would think you get to this point, he's going to go to Sunday and see.
Here's Commissioner Bettman.
We have a trade. Toronto trades the 25th pick in this year's draft to St. Louis in exchange for picks number 29 and 76. So Toronto, 25 to St. Louis for 29, 76, all in this year's draft. St. Louis, you're on the clock.
So a trade here, the St. Louis Blues on the clock. They trade the 25th pick, the 29th and 76th. Our coverage continues after this. Here in Dallas, the St. Louis Blues traded up to the 25th pick. They gave Toronto the 29th and 76th selection. So, St. Louis, they're at GM Doug Armstrong, ready to pick here at number 25.
St. Louis Blues are proud to select from Vaxo, Sweden, forward Dominic Bach.
So, Dominic Bach, winger from Germany. Nickname, the second Deutschland Dangler behind Leon Draisaitl, which is the type of nickname that makes you think someone should come up with a different nickname.
He's also got a fantastic bow tie on, and he looks good. And obviously a German player who plays in Sweden. The scouts I talked to, 7 of 10 had him in the first round. The projections or the rankings for number 15, number 15, number 16, number 17, number 17, number 18, and number 8. So for the St. Louis Blues to grab this guy, I can't explain why he slipped a little bit, but nevertheless, he was very much a consensus top 15 to 20 pick in this draft. Some scouts think that maybe he could work a little harder, but that he plays a potential all-around game and speaks 4 languages as well to boot: German, English, Swedish, and Russian. His parents are of Russian descent.
Tyler Toffoli comes to mind when I think about Dominic Bach. He can shoot the puck. He wants to get inside and use his size to carve out some space, and he's got a pretty good release. And like David Pastrnak and Jakub Vrana, 2 Czechs that went to Sweden because they felt it was better for their development. It's exactly what Dominic Bach did here. But, you know, we look at goal scoring. He's a goal scorer, a one-dimensional goal scorer. But, hey, I don't care if they're one-dimensional as long as they do
That's
it well.
That's a good dimension to have,
it is.
So the first German selected here in the first round. 7th different nationality selected in the first round. So a big night for Dominic Bach as he goes to the St. Louis Blues. Big night for American hockey as well. Plenty of Americans selected. A couple of them headed north of the border. A couple of American teams picking when we return. The Rangers and the Blackhawks. Selection in the draft, the Ottawa Senators selected Brady Tkachuk. This comes just a couple of years after Calgary took his brother Matthew Tkachuk. So Brady Tkachuk now with the Ottawa Senators, and the Sens picking here at 26 on the clock via trade with the New York Rangers. The Rangers still have another pick coming up. That comes after the Chicago Blackhawks. But before that, it is Ottawa as they make their way up to the stage here in Dallas as we continue our coverage of the first round. Player at this point that stands out, we've talked about, fellas, there have been some off-the-board picks already. We saw number 54 selected. A player right now that would make sense, Bob?
Well, Joe Veleno is the number 14 pick on our board. He hasn't gone yet. Sarah Noel, who plays for the Oshawa Generals but is from the Ottawa area, is a big power forward with some offensive ability, who's another guy in the only other top 20 that hasn't gone yet. So Veleno and Sarah Noel, based on our board, are the best player available in our view.
So Bob gives you his best available. The Senators are up on the stage. A team that's made a lot of changes recently and here about to add a player.
Before making our selection, we would like to wish the Washington Capitals congratulations on winning their first Stanley Cup. Les Sénateurs d'Ottawa sont très fiers de choisir. The Ottawa Senators are pleased to select from the Alberta Junior League Okotoks Jacob Bernard Docker.
Jacob Bernard Docker listed at number 46 on Bob's list.
Second consecutive year that a player, a defenseman from the Alberta Junior Hockey League is drafted in the first round after Cale Makar went 4th overall last year. You know, what I would call Jacob is just a good, strong, efficient defenseman. Again, top 4 guy that's got the smarts, makes the simple plays, He's going to North Dakota, so he's got time. He's going to need that time to develop, but doesn't panic, plays the game under control, but there's not really anything dynamic about him. But again, you need players that can play in different positions on your blue line up front, and he'll provide that.
I like the fact he's going to North Dakota. He's going to play for a great coach in Brad Berry. They produce tons and tons of defensemen for National Hockey League play. That's exactly what he needs. And what Cale Makar did, he's not staying 1 year at UMass Amherst. He's staying at least 2 years, playing for a great coach there in Greg Carville. This kid's going to do the same thing going to North Dakota. It'll help him a ton.
We said before the draft, when we were looking at our rankings, that between number 25 and number 60, there's not a huge degree of separation. That said, as was the case with Philip Johansson, the 10-man panel of NHL scouts that I interviewed, none of the 10 of them had Bernard Docker as a top 31 pick. Now, I should point out, though, multiple other guys amongst that group of 10 had him between 32 and 40, and therefore we had him as a consensus pick in the 40s.
So Jacob Bernard-Docker joins the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa took Brady Tkachuk at number 4. Been a busy week. They traded Mike Hoffman earlier. He went to San Jose, then was quickly shipped to the Florida Panthers. And now here at number 26, Ottawa drafts Jacob Bernard-Docker. Next up on the clock, the Chicago Blackhawks, and it was 30 years ago that Jeremy Roenick was the 8th selection in '88.
Chicago Blackhawks are pleased to announce Jeremy Roenick.
We looked there, 170 pounds. We were talking to him in the press conference yesterday. I asked him, how much do you weigh, Jeremy? He's very slight. He says, I'm 175 pounds.
I remember going to my interview with the Chicago Blackhawks to draft, and my agent said to me, don't you dare step on the scale. And when they asked me to step on the scale, I said no. And they said, why? I said, I've never seen the scale score a goal.
That's pretty classic JR. And it's a pretty good line. You ever run into a situation like that? You have a prospect in, you'd like to know something about him, be it personal, physical, and he's just not forthcoming at all?
Well, back then, the players had lots of tricks to add a little bit more weight. Like they'd wear their socks high and put padding that had weights on them underneath the bottom of their foot, so they're in their pockets, so they could add 5 or 6. Listen, Jeremy Roenick was a thin player who played hard.
If you watched him play at their academy before he went to Boston College for 2 or 3 days, then he went to Gatineau, the whole Olympic. Jeremy Roenick was a fearless player. Everybody knew he was going to be a great pro player. Just was he going to survive long enough because of how crazy he was on the ice.
But that was a different era. Like, that was a different era where under 6 foot, oh boy, you can't do that. And, oh, you're not heavy. Like, everybody put a lot of stock in the weight. Yep. When you watch Jeremy Roenick play, he was lights out good. I remember his first game at Hull. I was there. And it was like, wow. And it wasn't just the skill, because we knew he had that. He had a fierceness about him that carried him right through his NHL career.
The ample personality that you deal with on a consistent basis?
On occasion.
He had it then, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing watching Tony Amonte and Jeremy Roenick play on the same line in prep school.
Think about that.
It's amazing. They shredded people.
Modano went 1. Yep. Linden went 2. Okay? Curtis Lecision went 3. And then you start to go through it. Roenick was 8, Brindamore 9, Timo Solani 10. Not bad.
Pretty good.
So Jeremy Roenick went 8th overall in '88. That was 30 years ago. Earlier tonight, the Chicago Blackhawks, they had the 8th overall selection, and they used it on Adam Boqvist. And we talk about comparisons and guys who are fearless. And here's a guy who's certainly not afraid of a comparison, Craig, because Erik Karlsson comes to mind.
It sure does. And just when you watch him visually, you see it in him. The way he carries himself on the ice, even the way he carries himself when he's not playing, it's like Erik Karlsson. And, if they can get a player anywhere near Erik Karlsson, they'll be doing handstands.
One of the interesting things about Boqvist is that he actually suffers from dyslexia, which is not a huge problem for him, although in terms of some of the teaching when teams are dealing with obviously words, letters, numbers, that there requires a little different effort and sometimes a little different explanation.
So the Chicago Blackhawks, they selected at number 8. Their pick is in here now. Chicago Blackhawks brass up on the stage, a team that's looking to get back into the playoff picture. And here, about to add their newest player.
Blackhawks are proud to select from Drummondville, Nicholas Beaudin.
Straight ahead. This kid's a top-notch player. Top-notch. He's got outstanding vision. He can make plays that his eye see. He skates up the ice. He's got an incredible ability to be able to make plays on the move. When you think other players should have given it up, he's able to hold it, find the guy. He's just grown leaps and bounds in his game. He still needs to grow somewhat, but I know going into Drummondville to watch him, Dominic Ducharme, the Canadian World Junior coach that won the gold medal, I remember going in there later on and he says, boy, what do you think of Veleno? Because Veleno had gotten traded, who's not been drafted. And Nicolas Beaudin was the guy I was trying to get a real good read on.
And guess what? Another sub-6-foot defenseman, 5'11", 172 pounds, a point-per-game player in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, a big mover over the course of this season. He moved up 31 slots from our midseason rankings at number 70 all the way to number 39, and there were some scouts that had him as a potential first-round pick.
And again, it goes to what Chicago needs to do. They need to build their base in the back end. They know they're getting a little older. They're losing some guys. They've traded some guys. This is only going to help.
I'll go back to Joel Quenneville. Get to a puck, make the right decision, and then be able to execute it. Boqvist did it, and now they get Beaudin, who does exactly the same thing.
3 of the 10 scouts we surveyed had him in their top 31.
So he was in the top 31, the Chicago Blackhawks. Take him with number 27, and as Pierre mentioned, there was a need in Chicago. That need was certainly on the blue line. They went out, they get a defenseman at number 8, they get another defenseman here, and the trend continues, as we talked about, these notable defensemen under 6 feet. Quinn Hughes taking number 7, the American heading up to Vancouver. Boqvist at 18, he was selected by Stan Bowman, who's now with Catherine Tapp.
All right, Liam, thank you. 2 offensive defensemen are the way you go here with your 2 first-round picks. Take me through Nicholas Beaudin and what made him a choice here late in this first round.
He really came on strong this year. I thought, especially the second half of the year, had a chance to see him play in the playoffs. I was impressed with his game. He's got a lot of poise. He's got a lot of smarts. He can do it all. You know, he's not the biggest guy, but he's so efficient with the way he plays. Offensive, he scored a lot of points this year, and he was one of their top defensemen, even defending. So we loved his overall game.
And what's the biggest difference between his game versus who you chose at number 8, Adam Boqvist, another defenseman?
Yeah, Adam's got elite offensive ability. You know, he compares himself to Erik Karlsson, and I think style-wise, they play a very similar game. So he's a right-hander. Nicholas is a left-hander. So we've got 2 great defensemen in the future.
Well, one of the biggest issues for the Blackhawks this year was the uncertainty surrounding Corey Crawford, out since after Christmas with that upper body injury. Can you give us an update on if you expect him to be ready to go for the start of this season?
We do expect him to. It was obviously tough losing him last year. He's a huge part of our team. But things are looking better, and I've had contact with him recently, and things are looking up. So that's a good sign, and we're excited to see him at training camp.
All right, and a busy first day for you, Stan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Liam.
Catherine, thanks so much. So the Chicago Blackhawks, 2 first-round picks here. Adam Boqvist at number 8. Nicholas Beaudin at number 7. They address a need on defense. The New York Rangers next up. They already have selected twice here in the first round. Rangers at pick 9 took Vitaly Kravtsov. Look to add an element of offense to their team. And then later on, traded up to number 22. Got some size, got some athleticism with Keandre Miller, a player out of Minnesota. And now Rangers on the clock here. Less than a minute to go.
They're already up there, Liam.
Well, perhaps they're eager.
They are eager.
If they're this eager, is there a player in mind that you think they'd be this eager?
I still can't believe Bodie Wild hasn't been picked. I'm really surprised.
I'll tell you what, who's not having a good day right now is Joe Veleno. Deemed an exceptional player by Hockey Canada for entry in the Quebec League as a 15-year-old. Didn't put up high-end offense, but is a real solid character, two-way player. Doesn't have a lot of wow factor in his game, but it's wow to me that he hasn't gone and we're late in the first round.
Any reason that you could see why he wouldn't have been selected at this point?
Joe Veleno? Because he doesn't have high-end ability. I think he's just a solid player. I think people see players with more potential.
Valeno's still on the board. We'll see if he goes here. The Rangers pick is in.
New York Rangers select from Luleå, Swedish Hockey League, Niels Lundqvist.
Keep in mind, he played in the SHL this year as a 17-year-old defenseman and was very good. Excellent head, excellent hands. He knows how to get himself in the right positions to take advantage of opportunities. So defensively, he can beat the pressure, can shake a check, really good with the puck. But more than anything, when you watch a defenseman that might not be the biggest guy, he digs in and he competes. And when you look at other players that maybe not a similar size, similar stature, yeah, you know that that's not a strength of his, but he gets in there. And that's what you're looking for, because you think with physical maturity you'll be able to handle it.
Well, he's also a Lundqvist going to the Rangers, so perhaps he just takes best available Lundqvist.
Spelt a little differently. It's KVIST, not QUI. Was named the best defenseman in the second division. The Swedish Junior League this year. Should point out he was number 36 on our list. 4 of the 10 scouts I talked to did have him ranked as a first-round pick.
He reminds me of Sammy Vatanen.
That's the guy I was just like
go ahead.
Yep. No, we're on the same page. He reminds me a ton of Sammy Vatanen, who's obviously a Finn, came out of Jyväskylä, Finland, which is in the central part of their country. Luleå is way up north in Sweden. But that's who this player reminds me of, Sammy Vatanen.
And when you think about players, you know, this player wasn't even on the radar for a potential first-round draft pick entering this year. But he just kept showing a potential and a capability. And when you're in the SHL, the Swedish Hockey League, which is the top league, and you do as well as he did as a 17-year-old, people stand up and take notice.
That is a man's league. Like, that is a big boy league, and that is on par almost with the American Hockey League. When you're 17 years old playing in that league, that's really good.
New York Rangers started the night with 3 first-round picks. They made a move, but they still finished up with 3 first-round picks. At number 9, they took Vitaly Kravtsov. Then came back at 22 and took Keandre Miller. And here it's Lundqvist drafted at number 28. So the Rangers had a bit of youth here, and they select the 4th Swedish defenseman here in the first round. Right now, let's go to Catherine Tappan, who's with Jeff Gordon.
All right, Liam, Jeff, you had 3 first-round picks. You made a couple moves. You acquired 2 great players. What was the philosophy coming into today's approach?
I mean, we were trying to get the best players we could. We got 3 players that were pretty high on our list. The move for Miller was something where we felt like it wasn't going to be there with our later picks, so we just moved up a few spots and were able to get him. And to get Lindqvist there, we're feeling pretty good about the day so far.
Yeah, Lindqvist now the 3rd straight defenseman that's taken that's a sub-6-foot player. What does that tell you about the trend of where this game is headed?
I think if you're watching the games, it's fast, it's puck moving, it's competitive kids that are coming in the league and they're playing pretty quickly, so it's exciting.
How confident are you going forward in the next couple rounds tomorrow and what you want to achieve with this franchise going forward for the fall?
Well, we're really comfortable. We like our list. We think it's deep. We think there's a lot of players left, so we have quite a few picks left, so we're ready for tomorrow.
All right, we see your new head coach up there, Dave Quinn, obviously making the transition here from the NCAA, his first NHL draft. What have you seen from him so far?
Oh, he fits right in, right? He looks the part, and he's happy to be here, and so far so good. He hasn't lost any games.
That is true. A big positive for the Rangers fans. All right, Jeff, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Guys.
Catherine, thanks to the New York Rangers. As Catherine mentioned, a new head coach, 3 new players, and now the Toronto Maple Leafs who moved back there on the clock. We've been talking about Bodie Wild, Joe Valeno. Makes sense for a lot of teams. Makes sense for Toronto here?
Well, he's certainly got a pedigree. To Craig's point, the concern about him is doesn't have high-end offense. But in terms of character, being able to play a strong 2-way game, and as we say, declared an exceptional player, which sometimes becomes a burden for a 15-year-old. But nevertheless, he gained early entry to the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And we'll see if Toronto jumps up on him here. It wouldn't surprise me if they did.
That exceptional status, because it starts to lump in names like McDavid and Tavares. And then
John Tavares, Aaron Ekblad, Connor McDavid.
And then they go number 1.
Then they go Sean Day, who the New York Ranger prospect who obviously went to third round, and now Joe Valeno who drops. So, and again, it's all, at the end of the day, it's all window dressing where you get picked. It's what you make of it.
And if you know what you're getting in Joe Valeno, he's an industrious, hardworking player, plays in the middle of the ice. He's not a top-line player, but if that's what you want and that's what you feel that you're getting, then just go and make the pick. If you think you're getting a high-end player, I don't think that's That's what he is.
I see him as a depth player in the National Hockey League, third, fourth line type player.
Is he a player you take with this selection?
Well, again, this is maybe they see him in a different vein, but that's where I see him.
I see Lars Eller.
Yeah, so he's a third line center. Yeah. That's what he is. That's
third line center, yeah.
Those guys are important. We talk about depth down the middle all the time.
Yep. He was the next man up during their run to the Stanley Cup.
Question.
We'll see the next man up is here for Toronto.
Toronto Maple Leafs would like to thank Jim Nill and the Dallas Stars for their hospitality throughout the week. With the 29th selection in the 2018 NHL entry draft, the Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, Rasmus Sandin.
Put it up on the board. The 5th Swedish defenseman selected here in the first round.
And there's a strong connection, obviously, between Rasmus Sandin of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the former general manager of the Sault Greyhounds, Kyle Dubas, and the Sault Ste. Marie native, Kyle Dubas. And Rasmus Sandin is obviously another sub-6-foot, mobile, puck-handling Swedish defenseman.
Think Josh Morrissey. He's that type of a player. He's competitive. He might not have the same physical edge that Josh has, but that excellent skating defenseman. Can handle the puck, make a play. Doesn't matter where he is on the ice. He understands what play needs to be made. He's going to need some support. He's not a top elite #1 defenseman, but to me, he's a top 3 defenseman that's got so much growth in front of him. And when you consider where the Toronto Maple Leafs, what they did, move back, 29th, get an extra pick. Bob, this could look exactly like Travis Dermott down the road.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, Travis Dermott. And you look at that, and you look at obviously Morgan Riley being there and where their position going forward. They're in a real good spot.
And it's a nice bit of work by Kyle Dubas because it would have been real easy to take Rasmus Sandin with that earlier pick. He holds off, he picks up a third-round pick, drops down, and probably gets the same player that he was going to take at number 25.
So the new GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, patient here at the draft, Kyle Dubas, gets Rasmus Sandin late in the first round. He puts on the sweater for the first time. He is now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. 29 picks down, just 2 remain. The Detroit Red Wings at 30, and then the Stanley Cup champion Capitals at 31. Front office making their way up to the stage. The 30th pick in the draft. Earlier tonight, the Red Wings selected at number 6. They took Philip Zadina, a player who many thought could go as high as 3, and a player who essentially warned teams not to pass on him because he would then proceed to fill their net with the puck. And a player whose motto is look good, feel good, play good. He looks good in a Red Wings jersey, and now with the second to last pick in the first round, we will find out who else looks good in a Red Wings jersey. They need defense.
I would think that, you know, if there's somebody here like Bodie Wild comes right to mind, Matthias Samuelsson perhaps. I think Bodie Wild has some real significant potential.
I think they take the best player available.
And in your mind, that is Veleno?
Well, he's the best guy on our board, but...
Strong commitment there from Bob McKenzie. We'll see who Detroit takes.
At this point of the draft, I mean, we've seen a lot of guys ranked in our second round that are in the first round already.
All right, pick is in.
Detroit Red Wings are proud to select from Drummondville, Joe Veleno.
Okay, sense of relief.
That kid is relieved.
One word, relief.
That's what it is. You know what? Some players bring 2 suits to the draft because you get the first round on Friday night. You got 2 through 7 on Saturday. So some guys know they're a 1-suit guy. Veleno would have thought he'd be a 1-suit guy. So to carry over to tomorrow and maybe have to come back with the same suit, no good.
Especially if you've been sweating it out through the entire first round.
Well, he could have borrowed one from Zadina. He probably has 10 suits here.
You know, it's funny how it works. I mean, this kid, he was the captain of the Ivan Halinka team for Team Canada last August. So he's got character, he's got leadership. He was the exceptional player in 2015. You know, we talk about exceptional player in Canada. John Tavares, Aaron Ekblad, Connor McDavid, Sean Day, Joe Veleno. Those are the only 5 that it's happened to. The last 2 are not Tavares, Ekblad, and McDavid. But that makes life difficult for you sometimes. It's a burden to carry around.
Well, how big of a burden is it if you don't become the Tavares and the McDavid of the world?
Having said that, in order to get exceptional status, you must apply for it. So,
Bob, you made a good point earlier that, you know, it really was an exceptional status. You had to be that good to be moving into junior hockey at 15. Now, teams are looking at it. We get a top player into our league, and it's lost a little bit of its luster of what exceptional means. And that's no fault of Joe Veleno, but that's the reality of what's happened.
See, the thing of it is, exceptional status wasn't necessarily to say this player's exceptional and he's going to be a number 1 overall pick in the NHL. What they're saying is, as a 15-year-old, this kid is exceptional in the sense that he should be playing junior hockey a year ahead of all of his peers. You could argue with whether it should have happened for Sean Day, whether it should have happened for Joe Veleno, and retroactively, because they didn't go, because they haven't been quote-unquote stars in the draft, like McDavid, like Tavares, like Aaron Ekblad, you know, it is pause to consider. I've always thought, honestly, for the whatever benefits you accrue by being 15 years old and getting a year early to major junior hockey, the burden and in some instances that extra year, it's better to take the extra year on the back end than on the front end.
Yep. Going to hear from Ken Holland in just a moment on this pick. Exceptional status at 15, and here with pick 30 in the draft, Joe Veleno goes to Detroit. Catherine is with Ken Holland.
All right, Liam, thank you very much. You had 2 first-round picks. You get Philip Zadina and now Joe Veleno. 2 players. Were you surprised were still on the board at the time that you chose them?
Yeah, we were surprised. Obviously, we thought Zadina was going to go in the top 5, and certainly we're thrilled to get him. A guy that can score. You always need scoring, and then obviously with Joe Veleno, you got great speed. Got into the league early, so we're excited to get him. So great draft for us so far in the first round. We're happy with two high-skilled forwards.
And in the second and third round, you've got 5 more picks coming your way. So what are you concentrating on?
Well, we want to get some D at some point in time. But we just felt we couldn't pass these forwards up. So obviously, a couple pick today, and then tomorrow we're back on the board. So we're getting excited.
All right, a busy weekend for you, Ken. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Liam?
Catherine, thanks so much. So the Red Wings first-round picks, Philip Zadina at number 6, and then Joe Veleno, a player who many people thought would go much earlier in the draft, is there at number 30. So we mentioned that look of relief for Joe Veleno. Different reaction, though, for Bodie Wild as he hears these picks and continues not to hear his name being called.
Yeah, well, there's no question. And he's not the only one sitting there. Saren Knoll, Ryan McLeod, Akil Thomas, Bodie Wild. I mean, and now they know that a number of that they're not going to go. There's only one more pick here in the first round. So, that we saw that with our own Ray Ferraro happen with his son Landon. He went early in the second round, ironically, to Detroit the next day.
All right, we've arrived. The final pick in the first round, and it belongs to the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals. This was the scene in Vegas. Alexander Ovechkin finally hoisting the Stanley Cup. It took a long time, so you knew he wasn't going to let it go. The party continued. A quick sip, a nap, and then right back to the party. Jimmy Fallon, the keg stand. That's one way of doing it. That's the Ovechkin way of doing it at the Nationals game. And when you're Alexander Ovechkin, if your first attempt at the pitch doesn't go your way, you just say, I want one more, and they give it to you. Go for a swim, why not? The parade. And then it continued back in Vegas. And now you have the Washington Capitals picking with the final selection here in the first round. Bodie Wild still on the board. We'll see if he'll go here. But the last decision has been made. It's been made by Washington. Outside of Wild, anyone else come to mind right now as a possibility?
Yeah, you think about the blue line, that's always where I think of. I think Bodie Wild, but you're probably looking at a defenseman. You start to look down there, perhaps Jared McIsaac.
Washington Capitals are very proud to select from the Red Deer Rebels of the Western Hockey League, Alexander Alexiev.
You mentioned defenseman. There it is.
And a Russian defenseman at that. So, they support the Russian players so well. They're patient with them. We saw that with Kuznetsov. We saw that with Dmitry Orlov. And now a defenseman that handles the puck really well, moves the puck up the ice. Not what I would call a high-end offensive producer, but if you don't get out of your own zone with the puck, you're not going to be able to get on the attack. And with their number of really good offensive forwards and the speed they play with in Washington, he fits into the way they want to play.
Washington Capitals never fearful of going for a Russian player. In this instance, a Russian player who played in the Western Hockey League for Brent Sutter and the Red Deer Rebels. Very difficult year on a personal front for Alexander Alexeyev. His mom passed away in the middle of the junior hockey season, so he had to take some time away from the game, and rightfully so. But Alexeyev is a big guy, 6'4", almost 200 pounds. We had him at number 30 on our board, and he goes 31st overall.
On a night when we had so many sub-6 foot defensemen drafted, we have a 6'4" D-man drafted. Caps can afford to be patient. How far away is this player?
I would say at least 2 years away. Yeah. Needs another year in junior, play on the World Junior team again, and then a year in the minors, just as he physically matures. He's not a physically strong person, and that's going to, when you defend and you're not that dynamic offensive player, you better have that quality to hold off the opponent.
It's amazing. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I was just going to say, we were talking about Alexeyev going here to round out the first round. Worth noting, the captain of the U.S. Under-18 team, Matthias Samuelsson, the son of former NHL defenseman Kjell Samuelsson, did not go in this first round. So we had 6 of our top 31 players. Saren Noel, Ryan McLeod, Bodie Wild, Jared McIsaac, Akil Thomas, and Matthias Samuelsson were not taken on day one of the draft. So they're back tomorrow morning for round 2.
Well, whether it's the full Stanley Cup or the novelty-sized Stanley Cup, the partying with the cup continues. So, Brian McClellan makes his pick there. Alex Alexeyev, the final pick in the first round of the 2018 NHL Draft. We will recap the first round, talk about the winners and losers of the first round after this.
At Uber, come true.
Back here in Dallas, place starting to clear out. The first round of the 2018 NHL Draft has come to a close. We look at the top 10 picks. Rasmus Dahlin right at the top. No surprise there. And a player that's supposed to make an immediate impact.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody's looking for an elite number 1 defenseman. They have him. Svechnikov's a difference maker. But at number 3, Montreal, and number 10, Edmonton Oilers, Kotkaniemi, the center, and Evan Bouchard, the right shot offensive defenseman. You couldn't think of 2 more perfect fits for those 2 respective teams.
Well, speaking of fits, I'm going to go from 11 to 20, and I'm going to talk about Oliver Wahlstrom of the New York Islanders, who I think is one of the best pure goal scorers in this draft. And one of the things I like about him, he goes to the net, and his one-timer is overwhelming, going to Boston College next year. And then I'll go to the Philadelphia Flyers, a man that I thought would come out of the second round into the first, Jay O'Brien. Character, going to Providence, a pro-style team with Nate Lehman. He will make an impact probably in 2 to 3 years in the National Hockey League. I like what the Islanders and the Flyers both did.
21 through 31. How about at 21? The San Jose Sharks going for Ryan Merkley. Number 32 on our big board. A top 10 offensive D-man talent. Questions about his attitude. Questions about his maturity. San Jose Sharks said, no problem. We're investing in this young man. And Joe Veleno of the Detroit Red Wings, now with the Detroit Red Wings, he waited a long time. He was number 14 on our rankings, the captain of the Canadian Under-18 team last August at the Ivan Halinka tournament. I had to wait a long time, and Detroit, looking for defensemen, said, quite rightly, we couldn't believe he was there when we were picking.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I'll tell you what else is going on right now. All the teams flying out of here, they have a lot of guys that didn't get drafted. Bodie Wild, Akil Thomas, and everything. And I'll tell you what, they're now trying to maneuver to try to move up early in the second round for Saturday.
I think the one thing that stood out to me, the premium of undersized defensemen, puck transporting smaller defensemen, big premium on them.
Final thought for you, Bob.
Yeah, no question. The sub-6 foot defenseman was a big part of it. And of course, let's go back. Rasmus Dahlin draft. 3 Rasmuses in the first round. Buffalo got the best Rasmus available.
3 Rasmus, 14 defensemen taken in the first round. You guys did a great job. We do want to acknowledge a few production assistants, Andrew Guile, Phil Cohen, Andrew Leaf, George Hughes. Did a fantastic job. So for Craig, Bob, Pierre, Catherine, Darren, I'm Lee McHugh. Please stay tuned for the USA Track and Field Outdoor Championship from Des Moines, Iowa.